Muy buenos días a todos. Good morning, good morning. Welcome, my friends, my colleagues. Muy bienvenidos a nuestro último evento del año. This is our last event of the year. Welcome. Today, we're going to run the show slightly differently because I really wanted to have more of a roundtable discussion, again, to be responsive. We have a program committee, and they wanted us to start doing these kinds of events where we were talking with you as community members and leaders to hear from you. So it's more of a roundtable than our usual format, which is more Oprah style, where I'm interviewing the speakers. For those who haven't met me yet, I'm Dr. Gabriela Lemus, and I am your moderator today, along with our chair and co-founder, Maryland Latinos Unidos Steering Committee, Veronica Kuhl. Veronica and I will have the pleasure of introducing you to our steering committee, a number of whom are with us today. They will introduce themselves shortly. Please put your names and your location and your organization in the chat. That would be lovely. Our overarching objective for today's meeting is to pull together an agenda for 2024. We have met as staff, and we had our strategic planning meeting for the year this morning, yeah, like in 5 minutes, on Monday. And we've been surveying community members across the state for a bit, for the last 2-3 years, with a focus on the big five, as we call them. And for you who haven't worked with me before, the 5 counties, the big five, or the 5 counties where more than 70% of the Latino community resides. These areas are Anne Arundel, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Montgomery County, and Prince George's. That doesn't mean that Latinos are not present or that there are no demographic changes in other areas. In fact, the opposite is true. And for example, I'll use Frederick. Population in Frederick is increasing dramatically. In just 2020, the number of Latinos was 25,000. It has grown to more than 30,000 by 2022. So that's a 10.4% of the total population there. That is really quick, but services are lagging. County agencies didn't see that growth coming, right? But that's not unusual, and that's not specific to Maryland, nor is it specific to Frederick. That happens across the country when you start to see emerging communities. And what's happening in Frederick is a classic example of what we refer to as an emerging community. So why the leap in growth? Number of matters came into play here. The first being, we're very young, very, very young. The median age of Hispanics in Frederick is 29 years old, compared to the overall county median, just 39 years old, 10 years more. The other matter to take into account is that there were, in the last 2 years alone, there's been a large number of new arrivals that were coming into Maryland from other parts of the country. Specifically, I'm thinking of the buses that were being sent from the US-Mexico border by Texas Governor Abbott. Maryland received approximately 2,000 new residents over the past 3 years just through that process. But many, many more were passing through the area and have been passing through the area on their way to other places to meet their family members. Additionally, I think we should be prepared, and I don't want people to get scared or anything, but I think we should be intentional and conscious of the fact that we're likely to see a new wave of migration from the interior of the United States, because there are many states that are putting very anti-immigrant kinds of rules and regulations into place. And what happens is we just get sort of broad brush stroked, and everybody who's Latino then is an immigrant, right? These are how people think. And then things start happening and people feel uncomfortable, and they're looking for places to go that are comfortable to be in. And Maryland is one of those places. Maryland is known for its welcoming heart and for bringing in immigrants and refugees. It's a refugee center as well. So that's just something to think about as you plan for your nonprofits, your services that you offer as community leaders, as teachers. Our strategic objective, MLU's strategic objective for 2024 through 2026, thank you to my steering committee, it's to build a leadership pipeline, develop the necessary infrastructure to strengthen our communities, and create awareness through advocacy and policy recommendations. And there are areas where access is a serious challenge. And we have to think access, for everything, services, et cetera. To achieve true equity, we have to identify and eliminate the barriers to access that plague Latinos communities in every area, from investment and financing to entertainment, media, but also politics, the power of the vote, broadband access, and health equity, of course, which is where we started. As a community, we work very hard and we fill very important labor gaps. But we also, as a community, need to have access to the tools that are going to help us to be ultimately very successful. We're a highly entrepreneurial people. So representation matters, everything from essential jobs to boardrooms, in business, in government, in nonprofits. Latine representation lags in every area of representation. The 2020 census demonstrated how Latino community representation has not kept up with the rapid growth of Latinos and Latinas, not only here in Maryland, but across the country. In some ways, and in some areas, we're almost invisible. And, you know, I like to think about, like, I don't like to, I try to be very positive in my outlook, right? We have this demographic growth, but there are pinches, like there's areas where we're pinching. And, you know, for me, a special focus moving forward should probably be on Latino youth. And I think it's essential. As I said, in Frederick, 29 is the median age. So it's essential not only for Maryland, but, you know, socially, but economically. 1 in 4 kids born in the state today are Hispanic. And every 30 seconds, a Latino youth turns 18. They're going into the workforce. They're voting, or they could be voting. They should be voting. We hope they vote. We need to invite them into the process and help them into adulthood. Analysis of the US 2020 census demonstrated an almost 3% rise in the number of Latino children in the state. It moved from 23% in 2010 to almost 26% in 2020. But when you evaluate the percentage, it had the largest increase in percentage points. It was up 6.5% over the last 10 years. So, you know, we're young, we're dynamic, we're excited, but we still need a lot of different components, as Veronica will tell us. So there's areas of opportunity, however, and this is something we have to build out. Let's look at those opportunities together today. Economically, yes, I said it, we're critically important part of the economic engine that drives the country's success, and more the state of Maryland's success. The rapid growth we're witnessing will likely continue. Like I said, many states pushing down on regulations, sort of marginalizing the undocumented. But there's this thin line that happens when you marginalize the undocumented, it becomes the marginalization of an entire people. And inevitably, like I said, Maryland is a safe haven, which I love. It's one of the reasons I moved here on purpose, because I loved the fact that this was a welcoming place. It was progressively thinking about how to do well, and it brought us all together. But to be successful, we have to manage that. So this is where a strong examination of intersectional systemic change can make the difference. Too much of our work is done in silos, which, you know, I praise Veronica for this. She's always been saying this, bring everybody to the table. Let's talk about it. Let's see how things work together. Let's connect those dots. And, you know, I'll just use environment as an example. That's one of my favorite things to talk about, environment and health. But it's not just environment and health. It's not that if air quality is bad, you know, my kids may be more likely to get asthma. It's also transportation. If we cut the transportation budget, does that impact climate change? Right? Like we heard the governor's going to cut the transportation budget. Will it cut jobs? Will it eliminate jobs, or will there be more jobs? Is there going to be, there've been a lot of discussion around electrification of cars, et cetera, and public transportation. Will they cut that? So, you know, it's important to look at these issues, but also who is impacted and how they are impacted. Who is going to be at the table when those important decisions are being made? We have a few recommendations just to start us going. You know, we've said it already, our objectives is to increase leadership, but there really hasn't been much effort, you know, leadership and investment in the issues and needs of the Latino community. That is why we were created. Is to begin to really raise that up on a more holistic way. Maryland We really need to have investment dollars in infrastructure, economic development, community building, all those things we need as a state, but we also need to focus on those essential services that are critical for Latino communities to thrive, because an individual zip code does not determine their lifespan. It should not. So that means we should all be rethinking and reprioritizing what needs to be done and being willing to invest significant funds into the future. So Veronica, I invite you to give your introduction and welcome our steering committees, have them introduce themselves.
Good morning, and muchas gracias, Gabriela. I don't have a lot to add to that awesome opening. You're always so prepared. Pero bienvenidos a todos. I'm happy to see such a nice crowd right during the holidays. Está fenómeno. And I'm glad to have your voices. Gabriela said a lot. She couched it really positively. I'm worried. I think COVID showed just how very vulnerable our populations are, our people are, and there are not enough bilingual, bicultural Latinos. I think if you look around this Zoom, it's no somos muchos. And we have a big obligation, we have a duty to represent both needs, right? The incoming, the low acculturation, the low literacy Latino, and then the ones that are already here trying to grow and do a little more. That's a big burden, especially for our juventud. Our young people are carrying that burden. We know that there's a higher rate of depression, anxiety, and all that other challenges. So Maryland Latinos Unidos is ours. I want to stress that again, it's ours. So I'm very happy to see all the introductions, all the connections on the chat. It's our joint effort. So we need your voices, we need your involvement. We need you to step up. And we're not talking volunteer and free. So if you notice my introduction, yes, I'm the chair of the steering committee, but I have to pay the bills. I have to pay for colleges. I have to sustain myself, and I have to be able to contribute to the elected officials that are making advocacy and making the changes that we need. And for that, we need income. So when we talk about equity, I'm also talking about being represented, the equal pay opportunity para las mujeres, para los Latinos. So I'm not asking for you folks to show up and volunteer and give me more. I know you already give. What I'm asking is show up, participate, because our effort, our energy is around how do we sustain the work? I mean, if you know me, you heard me say I'm not interested in fireworks. I think they're beautiful, pero no duran. I want sustainable change for our community. I don't want a pretty program, a pretty party, and then it never repeats itself. And that actually does more damage. So what I'm looking to do is ensuring that we have leadership representation across the gamut. So sharing of job opportunities, sharing of mentorship programs, sharing of grant programming. One of the successes that Maryland Latinos Unidos has had, thanks to Gabriela's leadership as executive director, is we know how to get money. We know how to get grants. We know how to solicit big dollars. And we don't want to do the work ourselves. Why? You're the experts. So having you at the table, whether you're wearing a housing, an education, a health equity hat, we want you at the table so you execute upon these dollars that we're getting. But if you're not at the table to tell us what's happening, to tell us what programs, what strategies, what things you're working on, then we start reinventing the wheel or someone else starts doing it, and it takes time to do what you do well. So that's why you're here. So my big ask is be a member, follow along. We send incredible newsletters. We're all over social media, thanks to Carlos Orbe. I mean, the content that we share, it's insane. But please stay connected. Please tell us who you are. If we have openings in committees, in our steering committee, in the work groups, raise your hand and get involved, because from there's where you're getting the funding, the grants, the opportunities. We also are hosting great capacity building. One of the mantras for our group, and I'll introduce our steering committee, was that representation and capacity building. We don't want fireworks. So we've invested tons of energy at the speed of light under Dr. Almarie Donaldson to do bilingual, oigan, bilingual, bicultural capacity building. So our small grassroots organizations can execute better, faster, sustainably. They have beautiful ideas, pero no tienen el mismo acceso. So all of a sudden, they know where to go, how to do things more efficiently, faster, better, sustainably. But that's in Spanish and English with the cultural competence piece that we know we need. We know we're a little different. We're from different places. So we take that into account with our capacity building. We're the only organization I've ever seen do that. ¿Tú sabes lo que bilingual, virtual, bicultural, free capacity building? So we are training over 50 organizations and individuals. So think about that impact in every little nook and cranny of Maryland. Oh my gosh. So that's our master plan. And that's why we're here today. Como mencionó Gabriela, we need your input. We need your voices. Now it's going to be challenging because we're Latino. We're very passionate. We like to talk a lot. So I want you to think through being concise, even using the chat, because we're going to use this content going forward. So whatever you're saying, if it's something for posterity's sake, mételo en la conversación, in the chat, so we have it. So let's make sure that when we're introducing ourselves, when you're making a comment, think about being brief because we have over 40 people here. We want to hear everyone. So we don't want the whole dissertation. In my area, I'm in mental health, da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, we don't need the entire thing, por favor, not to be disrespectful, but I'm just trying to make sure that the 40 people that are here and those that are going to join a little later have the opportunity to speak. We only have an hour. I want to give the floor to our steering committee. We have people that have volunteered for 3 years or more, giving us so much of their expertise and donating as well to Maryland Latinos Unidos, which, by the way, if you have deep pockets and you want to donate, we'll accept donations. Y ahí lo ponemos en el chat. We're looking for year-end contributions. Pero I'd like to introduce our long-standing secretary, Joe Morales, Colombiano, attorney, that has been our keeping us straight boss man. Joe, si estás disponible, si puedes saludar.
Veronica, before we continue, I'm so sorry, this is the interpreter. Do you mind giving myself and Gloshonda co-host abilities? We need to switch off, but I can't spotlight myself. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Not at all.
I see my partner working really hard and I haven't been able to switch her out.
Got it. We will take care of that. Susana will do that for you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. And by the way, talk about progress. We have trilingual ASL interpreters. Señores, como estamos avanzando, so all of our folks have the ability to participate. Joe Morales, preséntate, mi hermano.
Buenos días. Veronica, muchas gracias. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. Really want to focus on the conversation. So if anybody has any questions, just please feel free to reach out to me. I've been working with the committee for a long time now. So if you guys have any questions, and I think Veronica already talked about what I've done, and so that's all good.
Joe is just fabulous. And if you guys need law, corporate law, business law, IP law, he's your man. He's phenomenal. He's actually my own attorney. I'd like to introduce my newly minted vice chair, fellow Dominican, Maria Pilar Rodriguez. Maria Pilar, preséntese.
Buenos dias, buenos dias. Glad to be here. Maria Pilar Rodriguez, small business owner and Latina owned. And also the executive director for the Maryland Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And being part of this group is fabulous. You learn so much. The connections are amazing. Veronica, Dr. Gabriela is fabulosa, son fabulosa, Joe, the whole team. So glad you're here, and let's make 2024 a great success by making change. Latina Plátano Power. Back to you.
And as you guys know, we're very, very patriotic. There's a nice little Dominican contingency. Ooh, ooh. So we always celebrate that. A fellow
Mexico.
There's some jealousy there from the Mexican. Another Dominican, Ana Carrera, also on our steering committee. Ana, really, I met her when she received a very well-deserved award from the Latino Caucus for her work in mental health. And I don't want to steal her thunder, but Ana, cuenta un poquito de ti, please.
Okay. Hi, good morning, everybody. Buenos días a todos. Thank you for being here, and I'm really excited. And it's my honor to be part of this group. My name is Ana Carrera. I work for Pro Bono Counseling. We provide free mental health in Maryland, and I'm also a business owner. And please refer any clients that you think that they need mental health services to me. And we have a few clinicians who are bilingual. Send them my way. And if there is anything else?
Oye, bilingual free mental health counseling. Bilingual free mental health counseling and training. So if your organization needs some bilingual support to train, to address the needs, think about all those children, all those immigrants coming and the challenges we bear, the baggage we have, y nadie lo habla. Ana has been doing that work and does it really beautifully. So please talk about that and normalize the therapy. It's normal. No, we keep hiding that. Dale, Ana.
And we can also do workshops for the clients in your agency in Spanish. If you feel like your clients, they need to know more about what mental health, suicidal ideation, anything in mental health, we can provide that workshop in Spanish. And that's another great services that we provide. We can provide free transportation. We can provide free technical, and many people sometimes they don't have a smartphone. They cannot get their therapy like video. We can help them with technology.
We'll make sure that Anna's contact. Anna, make sure you introduce yourself with your contact info for the organization so people can follow up. And that's for everybody. Por favor, your names, your emails. If you need contacting one another, reach out to each other. Pero Ana, people are asking for your contact info para que te presentes on the chat.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna be on vacation for 2 weeks in case I don't reply or call you back. Don't feel like I ignoring you. I'm not gonna be
all good. All good.
For 2 weeks.
We also have Elizabeth Isla Light, wonderful committee member with us since the very beginning. Elizabeth is one of the few Latinas that has a seat at the table when it comes to education. Elizabeth, if you're on, I think I saw you. I see you off camera. Preséntate, saludas.
Hello. Sorry. I don't know why my camera's not on.
Don't worry about it. Go for it.
But can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, you're good. Go for it.
Hello. So happy to be with you today. I've been busy. I've been working with the Anne Arundel County Bar Association. I was chair of the Judicial Nominations Commission. And I've been working, actually, I'll be meeting tonight. We've had one meeting already with the Maryland Hispanic Bar Association to interview more people that we can recommend for judicial nominations. So it's very important, as you said, to have Latinos at the table. Presently, there are several counties, my own included in Anne Arundel, that do not have Latinos on the bench. And, it's not necessarily justice denied, but it's always good when Latinos see someone that looks like them.
Claro.
Making decisions on what their cases are like. We also, are always working to try to recruit law students. I've talked to several law students one-on-one to talk to them about what kind of law they might want to go into and some opportunities for them. So things like that. I know that's stuff that Joe also does as well. But whatever little part we can play, we're, trying to do it.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Can I add something, Veronica, just briefly? What they are doing with getting judicial nominees is really important, not only for the state, but it means we're building a pipeline of Latino experts and judicial members who can then move up the ranks as the federal government looks for jobs all the way up to the Supreme Court. That's how we ended up with Sonia Sotomayor. You have to build the bench from the bottom up.
Representation, baby, representation. All right, so I believe I got all of our steering committee members that are present. If you haven't been recognized, let me know. Wave your hands in the air like you just don't care. Bueno, seguimos. So we're gonna get the party started by asking for your input. What's happening in your neck of the woods? We have tons of fun of friends introducing themselves. So concisely, I want to hear what are the key issues that are impacting the Latino community in Maryland? What are the key issues that are impacting the Latino community in Maryland? So if we can have either chat, but if you can bring your top 2 or 3 issues. And Gabriela, just to be clear, we're not necessarily trying to fix the issues on this call and talking them out. We want to gather the input. So if you have a particular issue that's maybe rare, convoluted, complex, and you have to talk it out, raise your hand so we call on you. But if it's something that you're seeing every day, like language access, like computer access, like insufficient bilingual staffing support, that we know, but it validates if we know you're in Frederick, you're in Waldorf, and you see it, then we know, oye, también la gente de Waldorf tienen ese problema. Okay, so put in the chat if again it's a convoluted issue that it's unique to your world and you have to explain it, raise your hand, because we need to be educated as well. And then perhaps other people have it and they just don't even know how to verbalize it. So again, what are the top issues that you guys are seeing in your world? Pretty general. So let's hear what's happening. I don't have any hands up. So you're telling me we have no issues? Estamos bien. Fenómeno. Flaco, lindo, jóvenes. Ya, ustedes están fenómeno. Okay, la gente tiene miedo. Or maybe they're typing. Oh,
Okay, Clemmy has her hand up.
Dale, Clemmy, explica el tuyo.
Hi, everyone. I had the pleasure of having a wonderful meeting with Veronica yesterday. So she asked me to join the group today. I work for a national organization, and related to your question, Veronica, where we see a lot with our Latino community is that the kind of work that a lot of Latinos are doing, landscaping, farming, has to do a lot with environment and the use of pesticides. So in my organization, we deal with Parkinson and other movement disorders, which is related to environment. So that is a big issue that we are trying to raise awareness, related to health literacy around the country. So we see that happening. It is more prevalent, obviously, in California and Texas, but we cannot discard the area in Western Frederick, where we see a high percentage of Parkinson's incidents, and we don't have any Hispanics identified. Even though we know they are there, they are not accessing all the resources that we have available. So that is what seems so interesting to me when Gabriela spoke about environment. So that is one of the big things that we're trying to deal with right now in the banning of paraquat. So that's where a lot of our efforts are, raising awareness and providing education and resources as well.
All right, thank you, Clemmy. That's great. That is really good feedback. I know we see from Genesis Aguilar Chavez needing Howard County mental health providers who are bilingual and bicultural, and I'll step that up. Health providers that are bilingual and bicultural. We saw through COVID the desperate need of having language access and people with a cultural awareness to understand how we operate from our home countries, so that we have a little bit more empathy when caring for folks. Angela Hernandez and Bowie put down Latino teacher representation in K-12, ding, 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 and access to IT, workforce development, programming and opportunities. So we're gonna keep the program going. Please continue to add the priority issues that you see. I'm actually gonna challenge all of you. Put down your issues, your county, and your issues, just for validation's sake. You may think everyone knows that, falta gente in education. Pero hearing 7 of you say it may bump it up on the list. So if we have limited resources, what do we tackle next? And seeing that the bulk of the people talked about education first may bump your issue first. So just simply speaking, vamos a hablarlo, vamos a hablarlo. All right, Gabriela, passing it to you.
So, excuse me. So on the issue area, and thank you for raising both the mental health piece and the environmental health issues specifically. Environmental health, I just want to add, like I said, that's kind of my baby, Clemmy, but Maryland Latinos Unidos was recently chosen as part of a cohort with the National Academy of Medicine to discuss and build out a national plan around environmental health. And we had our first meeting about 3 weeks ago in Washington, D.C. And one of the issues that I did raise was precisely the issue of landscaping, construction workers, et cetera, and their relationship with the environment, but also the toxins that they work with that expose people, but also then impact us at home. So it's a give and take. So thank you for raising that. But let's move on to the next question. Here we are, we're discussing issues. You know, we need representation. That keeps coming up in every area, investment, et cetera. But we also know that there's a role that we can play, right, as an organization. And we're seeking to be that convener that brings a network of networks together to really address the challenges. We don't solve the problems, but we help bring the people together who do. So what role do you think we can play as an organization in growing leadership and improving community outcomes? And this then gets me to the point, we keep talking about leadership, but what kind of leadership training and organizational development do you feel we should focus on? We heard health, we heard environment, and we heard education, but are there any other, and obviously the judicial system. How do we do that? Or what suggestions do you have for us?
This is Elizabeth. I'm just going to raise the issue that when we were looking for judges to recommend to the governor, not one Latino applied. So being a part of the Bar Association in Maryland, that's concerning to me that they are not presenting themselves. I know there are lots of Latino lawyers out there, but is it something that the Bar Association can do better to recommend that individuals present themselves for review and in interviews?
Mm-hmm. That's actually a bigger issue. And it even goes, I would say, to the commissions and boards that are in every county and at the state level. It really, I sit on a number of commissions. I've actually volunteered myself just to open the door. And I think that is an area that we could and should develop a little more broadly. I'm not always sure how to go about it because I can't, obviously, just because I go in personally and open the door, that's not enough. I can only be in 2 or 3 of these things before I collapse. And, you know, it's a whole selection process, et cetera. Gabriel put politics also plays a role in judicial appointments. That's correct.
Well, I have a recommendation.
By all means.
One of the things might be to just have an open discussion on how a judicial selection's made. We have plenty of people who have participated on these judicial nominations commissions or boards, but you know, it's the unknown that people may not want to undertake the interview process and the background, that sort of thing. And it's not as onerous as one might think. So maybe having a seminar or a webinar on that might be a way to do it. And to encourage the Bar Association to do that as well.
Maybe we could do something jointly with them.
Right, the Hispanic Bar Association, exactly.
So a joint meetings, joint webinars. Let's see, I see somebody in the chat put, can't read it very well, sorry. Ay, perdón. Here. It says something about, it is very frustrating that on the immigration legal services, Just Neighbors does not do a lot of general advice and counsel. So do you want to broaden, do you want to say something on that front,
That's Sarah, yeah.
Sarah?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to, although I may cut in and out because my connection's not great. But what we have noticed is that there is a lot of funding in terms of like a high volume of general advice and counsel. And so the way the grants are funded, it's almost encouraging mass screening without actually serving the clients. And so it feels like it's sort of a just numbers, you know, make it look good. We're screening a high number of people, but are those individuals actually getting served? Are they actually getting representation for their cases? Not necessarily. And you know, I think it's just what's sexy, and we don't want to do what's sexy. We actually want to serve the client, and often, you know, they are then coming back to us in later years to take next steps in their immigration journey. We want to be able to do that. And oftentimes you can't count those individuals again because you've already touched their case once. You've got to move on to somebody else. That's very frustrating.
So I think, you know what, I'll step in there, Sarah. This is in line with the next question. A lot of our community, a lot of our, I would say our representatives, you know, people that have the limelight on them just because they're visible, are not informed. You know, me, myself included. In my mind, I'm thinking, finally, we're getting money for immigration. And until I hear from you as an expert going, oye, pero it's only for the initial intake. It's not for the actual work. So I think this is where we need you guys as experts, because every single project like that starts from a good place. You know, and the squeaky wheel that's always demanding and just being demanding. And finally, the monies are allocated. But if you're not from that industry, or like you that understands and sees it every day, you're like, wait, but you're only giving me money to go to the supermarket. So I pay for the taxi, the Uber to get there. But you didn't give me the money to actually buy the groceries. And in our minds, we're like, oh, crap, we didn't even think about that. So I think your point has been duly noted. And when you mentioned it to me at the Mano party, that struck me. I didn't even think about that. I thought we were making progress. But until you dig into it and peel the onion, and that's where we need you. That's where we need you. That's where we need you. And the more specifics your asks are, your issues are, the more we learn. Because to me, that was never even a thought. So that brings up the bigger question of, how do we make sure that our community has access to the resources and the investments? How do we make sure that our community has access to the investments, the resources, the grants? I mean, the obvious, making sure that it's in Spanish, making sure that it's disseminated in the places where our community is. Facebook, social media, Spanish radio, small local newspapers, small grassroots organizations. That's why MLU does the newsletters and the social the way we do, because we know that's where our people are. But how do we make sure you guys are at the table? Short of me sending a personal smoke message, you know, smoke signal to Sarah going, hey, there's a bucket of money for immigration. What else can we do? What else? So put it down. What are we missing? WhatsApp. There's a whole bunch of WhatsApp groups that we're hearing about. So if you have a WhatsApp group where you share information or you communicate with your constituents, put it on the chat so we can all be aware. What else? Where else are the community stakeholders present that we need to talk to? How do we talk to you? How do we share opportunities? How do we invite you to the table? What else is missing?
So there's some comments in the chat as well that I think are really important. One relates to, if you have a deaf child, sometimes language deprivation happens. The deaf child might be in the middle of learning English and speak Spanish at home, but they do not know ASL.
Oh,
We need to
wow.
figure out how to get ASL access accepted by the family for the child. So they have access to understanding academics and interpreters. There should also be interpreters provided in classrooms if it's mainstream. Another
Portia,
comment.
thank you for sharing that. My heart goes out to you. Because I know what is this when you don't speak English, you feel left out.
Ugh.
Pero imagínate que ni en español ni inglés ni lo oyes. So feel a big love. Glad we have the ASL interpreters here.
Yes,
You mean a lot more now.
thank you. Yeah, we're probably going to be reaching out to you on a much more regular basis. And Stephanie has a comment. Marylanders need access to quality, affordable health coverage, regardless of immigration status.
Yep.
Consider having your organization sign on to our Healthcare for All resolution. Please sign on. We've signed on to it. A new report from the Maryland Department of Health outlines the investments that the state needs to make in order to expand access to undocumented Marylanders. Our organization also released a report showing that when we expand access to care, we reduce uncompensated care costs, which saves everyone money in their health insurance premiums. Read about this in Maryland Matters. I want to just say that when I was in the administration, in the Obama administration, and we released the Affordable Care Act, that was a big issue related to it. And with all the attacks that have been placed on the Affordable Care Act, what is available is now in danger as well. This is really important, and it's an issue that continuously comes up, especially in local healthcare issues. Stephanie says, 1 in 4 Marylanders have had to leave a prescription drug at the counter because it was unaffordable. Oh, that's so true. Latino Marylanders are less likely to have health coverage than non-Latino white Marylanders, increasing the burden of prescription drugs for individuals. When you think about our chronic conditions, especially diabetes, you need to be able to have access to your drugs so you do not perish, let us say. And same thing with issues like blood pressure, etc. And even when one is exposed to certain toxins, allergies, there's all kinds of things, asthma medicine. I have heard multiple times of mothers giving up their asthma medicine to ensure that they can give their child asthma medicine so that the child has access. And then they end up in a crisis and end up in the hospital, and the whole cycle of poverty sort of kicks off again. And so this is a real challenge. League of Women Voters, using volunteers, advocates on a broad range of social and economic justice issues, came to learn about legislation we should be supporting, requiring multilingual voting materials in counties when 2% of the population speak a language other than English instead of the 5% threshold of the federal 1965 Voting Rights Act. Go ahead.
And then this is really important. Thank you, Nancy, for putting in this. And I think someone else put down another bill. That's actually a huge piece of it. We have friends in legislation, the fantastic delegate Jocelyn Peña Melnick. She's always looking for bills. So if you have an issue that perhaps isn't being attended to, or there's a bill, an idea that you need support on, bring it up. Because again, I know enough about a lot of things to be dangerous. I don't know everything, neither does Gabriela. So if you have a bill that you're pushing and you need testimony, you need support, that's what we're here for. We want to collectively support each other in advocacy. And this is how things change. This is how money gets allocated. So if there is a concept and you already have a bill, let us know so we can disseminate it. If you don't know how to go about it, let us know so that we can ensure that the right legislators can sponsor it, or perhaps, wordsmith it so it becomes a bill. A lot of this has easy fixes, but they're not aware. So if you have a bill that's a priority, también, métanlo aquí en los comentarios. And if you need additional support, let us know. As you know, Delegate Jocelyn Peña Melnick was instrumental in the establishing of Maryland Latinos Unidos, and she is chair of the Health and Operations Committee for the Maryland delegation. So again, we have a high-ranking Latina Dominican and
the highest ranked Latino or Latina in the
correct.
delegation.
So that's huge. So she's overseeing that entire operation. So if something is repeated over and over, we have a friendly ear. So please ensure that your issues are posted here. And if we send out a request to you all as members and as partners, hey, there's such and such a thing going on, we need all testimony. Por favor, preséntense, because there is power in numbers.
Mhm.
That's huge. We need that. We need that. Gabriel, I'm looking at the clock here, so I'll take over. It looks like the last question is yours. Do you want me to do it, or are you good?
Yeah, go for it. You're going to
So-
wrap up too, so.
Yeah, excellent. So last question, as you can look around the comments and the players that have introduced themselves, you heard about our steering committee. Our goal is to get the entire state, and we have representation from the whole state, but more. Who else needs to be involved? So obviously we have industry, so we have education, we have health, we have law, we have all the nonprofit folks, we have some government partners already. Who else needs to be at the table? Whose voice isn't represented? So please, please, please think through who isn't here. We address environmental justice, and a lot of us have our hearts in different places, so we make sure all these issues are heard. But if there's something we're missing, is there a partner? Is there an organization? Is there a person? Is there an advocate that needs to be at the table? Let us know. We'll pursue them, or you invite them. Is there a topic that you keep hearing and you don't ever hear of solutions? So that we go, coño, no me ha hablado de esto. Where's transportation at? We never talk about that. So make sure that you put that in the chat so that we are representing you all accordingly. Faith organizations, thank you, Clemmy. We have a lot of sacerdotes, padres, tenemos muchos colegas que están involucrados in the faith world. And that through them and through the WhatsApp channels that we all have access to, we're getting over 300, 400, 500 faith leaders.
On the faith leader side, also something I learned recently from our friend Juliana in Baltimore County. She said that there might be a need for them to have support. This is something maybe we can do as MLU to help them get their 501c3, and we can work with Mano on that because they're they're so busy doing the work, they're not able to get everything they need done. So that's something also, if you're thinking about starting a nonprofit, or you know someone who is, send them our way. We have the training classes with Dr. Almarie Donaldson, but we can help them, sort of figure out how to structure, how to build out their business plan, all those kinds of things, so that they can create organizations that support the community. Because there really is a lack. There's not that many of us out here in the state, and yet the needs are growing. There are also a lot of Latino serving institutions that need support in gaining access to the community itself that they're trying to serve. They might have some challenges. We're happy to work with them as well.
All right, I see Walter put in their access to voting. Thank you, civic education campaigns. Agreed, agreed. All right, please keep adding your issues, your priorities, WhatsApp groups. Where is our community that perhaps we're not engaging? Please get involved with MLU, the newsletters. Aquí puso Ángela Hernández, big issue, many anti-crime bills in Prince George's County. 20 people, Spanish speaking. Okay, got it. Is there outreach to Spanish speaking folks on anti-crime pieces? All right, sex trafficking education, that's a huge thing. So there's a lot that we're all disseminating, and what we're trying to avoid is replicating the work that's already happening. So it's very difficult to do this if I know you're over there and you're not telling me. So, and again, the organization is only 3 years old. We've done amazing work by the skin of our teeth. So there's a lot of room for improvement. We're always looking for bodies or people to get involved that want to be committed. And again, the exposure really does yield a lot more access. So seguimos ahí. Dale, Gabriela.
I'm seeing here
College.
National College Attainment Network has put their web link on in the chat. Have a strong sense of national issues related to access to college and career. It is still clear that college attainment gaps remain steep for Latine population overall. Happy to share some data on where college access attaining indicators stand here in Maryland. Actually, that's really important. And it has been difficult data to grab. One of the challenges we also have in the state is actually data collection. The state doesn't have I don't want to say they don't have standards. That's not what I meant. But they don't have a consistency in reaching to our community and reviewing us. So we depend largely on the U.S. Census, and that is also depending on the decade, on the decennial census tracking. Sometimes it's better, sometimes not so good. I think it's really important that this could be a policy recommendation for all of us to consider, is to ensure that whenever we're talking to our legislative friends and our friends in the executive office of the governor, but even the county executives and the county councils, that they consider ensuring that ethnicity is included in data gathering. That is not a guarantee. And oftentimes we're left out, or we are tracked as other. That was a challenge during COVID. The actual numbers were never quite clear until the CDC got involved.
Yeah, Gabriela and Veronica, thank you for hosting this. And it's, again, my first time attending, so it's really great to be in this space. You know, I think what I see happening a lot within that education space is sometimes statewide initiatives, but sometimes very like district specific, right, or county specific, and they're moving in silos. And so when you ask sort of the question about what can we do, it's really sort of figuring out like what are all the things pasando por aquí, por allá, you know, and sort of bringing that together to really prioritize like what is it? Like I just learned of one. I mean, I'm in Harford County. I live in Harford County. Of something that's being executed within the education space. And I'm like, wait, is this across all of Maryland? Is this just here? Like, no entiendo, right? And so I think that getting a handle on sort of what's happening across the board and figuring out priorities.
Asset mapping, Senia, asset mapping, yeah. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. Gabriela, you want to start leading us down the path?
Sure. So you have all contributed quite a bit today. I see we have a lot of work to do for 2024. I think it really it crosstabs beautifully with the work that the staff has done already as well, and our steering committee. You know, we're all kind of, it sounds like on the same page, but there's some nuances here that I wasn't aware of before. So thank you for sharing all of that with us. You know, you heard Veronica say at the beginning, please become a member of MLU. We have a new membership advocacy price tag of $29, which is to help us do this policy work and advocacy work so that we can be at the table and have someone who can synthesize information for us as an organization, but also for you. That is so important. And I really, you know, juntos podemos más. That's our theme. Together we are stronger, we can do more, and we can do better. I'm a big believer in the path of least resistance. You know, I'm forever battling, you know, I feel like Sisyphus. I'm going up that hill with that rock and boom, it's back on top of me. However, sometimes maybe it's not about pushing the rock up the hill, but just getting rid of the rock, right? So maybe we need to think differently and more innovatively about what we're doing. And the best way to do that is to bring us all together in co-create and collaboration. We have our MLU collaborative model. We believe in community groupings and keep micro-sectoring those down by issue area. So the more we can get to know you, the better we get to know you, the better we can help convene these kinds of conversations and address the challenges collectively.
And I love Gabriela, and it really sucks sometimes to follow her because she's so eloquent and articulate. Y vengo yo de que hablando. with my Dominican Latino, por favor, Gabriela, you gotta let me do something first. Maybe.
Dale, 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 coño.
All right, mi
Sorry.
gente. All right, mi gente. It's Navidad, it's Hanukkah, it's the holidays. It's a time to reflect, to be grateful. We're still standing. You know, we made it through COVID. We made it through a really fast year. We're still kind of virtual. We're still all trying to figure out how to be. And I know that you're here because you carry that obligation to do both your everyday and our community. I mean, that's why I established Maryland Latinos Unidos. That's why I made it a point of joining the group. And that's why our steering committee is involved, because we have that personal commitment. So it's been in the chat. Please get involved. Please get involved. We're not trying to duplicate work. We want to amplify you.
That's right.
And what you're doing. We want to get it in front of the right people. There were a lot of nuggets here, so thank you for your details. If you couldn't get, if you didn't speak up, please email me, Gabriela, put it in there. How to share information, Susana and Carlos, if you can respond to that chat and let us know where to put information, where can people reach out to us. But being a member, getting on our social media, it's affordable. Please invest in us so we can invest in you. If you're available to participate in committees, you have a fire for education, for representation, for youth, raise your hand. We're recruiting for our steering committee. Again, the visibility is fantastic. You build family, as you saw with all the joking in the beginning. Somos familia, de verdad, de verdad. And step up, be direct. We know subtlety doesn't work. We have too much going on to be subtle. So ask for what you need. And it goes both ways, right? Tell us what you're doing so we can support you. And if you are available, get involved. I'm going to put on the chat. I am outside of MLU participating in a fundraiser for Jocelyn Peña Melnick. And we're not a political organization. So please understand, I'm speaking as Veronica, not MLU. I'm inviting you because we need representation. So if you can, please consider it. But on the MLU side, putting that hat back on, we are recruiting actively for the steering committee. We're recruiting for members. We are recruiting for a Latino Health Equity Alliance so that we have a seat at the table and we're speaking about the things that matter. Mental health, sexual trafficking, representation. Así que I want to close with, it's the holidays, a time for family, a time for friends. And we know as Latinos, we count our community as our family. So take a moment to be grateful. Take a moment to express gratitude to all those advocates that are daily toiling to protect and serve. And if your heart and pocket can afford it, un regalito, un juguetico, something to make someone's holiday brighter. And if we can help you, please let us know, because we cannot work alone. So muchísimas gracias a Gabriela, the staff that wears 42 hats, to the steering committee.
All but mighty.
To the steering committee that is present, Joe, Maria Pilar, Ana, Elizabeth. Thank you 1,000 times over for giving of your heart. I really appreciate it. And to each of you for being here with us. Thank you for expanding your responsibilities to do a little more. Así que de todo corazón, muchísimas gracias y feliz Navidades, felices fiestas.
Gracias, gracias, gracias. And we look forward to working with you in 2024. It's going to be an exciting year. We're going to launch our first in-person series of events. The People's Issue Priorities breakfast series. It'll be a series of breakfasts in different counties. And the goal there is to get us ready for 2025, because we believe that by May 2025, we will be doing our first ever conference, which will be the State of Latinos in Maryland Conference. So I'm announcing it now. That gives me a responsibility. Hold me accountable. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Gracias a todos. Un abrazote.